Okay, so I'm going to start out with the black. And what we're going to do is a whole painting where you are forced only to look at value. But one of the common problems I heard about when we were painting outside was, how do you not get caught up in detail? And if you're just looking at value, it's much easier to not get caught up in detail. Because I can say, you know, look at the lights and darks, but when you've got the reds and the yellows and the greens and their siren call, you know, you just can't see the value. You just can't see it. But when all you've got to work with are the whites and the blacks and the grays, you're going to see the value a little bit better. So right now I'm using the straight black, and I'm looking at the darkest areas. Then looking at what's gray but not black. That's very, very dark but not quite as dark as that. That's going to be my next gray. And as I'm working, I just look, okay, what's really light and what's dark. And when all you're doing is moving between white and black, it's very easy to push it around from one value to the next. I'm just getting the intermediate value. So it's something like this. You know, you look at it and it's like, oh, a zillion little things. But if you just look, okay, what's the value there? Is it middle of it gray? Is it closer to white? Is it a real light gray? Is it closer to dark? And paint the value. And you can get as detailed as you want with it, but it's not necessary at this point. I just want you to end up with a painting that really has a strong, clear range of grays. I can easily come in and get that light, you know, into it. It's not going to be white with my brush being dirty, but I can. But the white is a very strong, you know, strong tinting strength.
So you move from one value to the next without cleaning your brush. You just keep.
Well, because it's all a continuum, really.
Yeah.
And as I said when we were painting outside, my demonstration outside, I land the brush, so I pick up some white, I land the brush over here where I see some very light sky. But then as I paint, the brush is going to pick up more black. And so as I work around the canvas, it's going to get darker. So what most people who have no experience painting would do is they would say, I'm painting this spot right here. So when the white gets dirty, I stop, wash the paint off my brush, go back to the color I want right there. I'm kind of cheap. I don't like wasting paint. So if I have a color on there that's not what I need there, I'll say, well, okay, it's too dark for over here, but it's right for there. And then it picks up more paint, and it's darker. And I'm like, well, you know what? It'll work back there. And then I think it'll work over here. And as I'm going around the painting, and this is something that only happens with experience. You have to have thousands of miles on your brush, I think, before you get an intuitive sense of what's on the end of the brush. That's what you need to pay attention to. That if you know what's on the end of the brush, then you can make it land in the place you need it to land. If you have no idea what's on the end of your brush, there's going to be a lot of this, you know, oh, you know, where, oh, where'd that come from, you know? Well, it's where you were last time, you know, because it just keeps picking up stuff. Here, I am consciously adjusting the range of values, you know, just, and it's very subtle. I can say, well, and it has a lot less to do with matching this to this as it has to do with matching the relationship from here to here. You know, it's all about what's going on, you know, between this and this. And really doesn't have anything to do with sort of matching the photograph, beyond using it as a reference point to figure out where to go.
Ellie, I have no idea what I'm doing with brush stroke. How do, you know, when do you do a horizontal or vertical or, you know, my opinion about brushstroke is it should be unconscious. That I think when you're thinking about the brushstroke, you're thinking about the wrong thing. You know, if I'm looking at the paint landing on the surface, I'm not thinking about the value, the color, the shape. You know, you're sort of paying too much attention. That brushstroke, I think, ends up being kind of like handwriting. So what I'm doing now is looking, again, always just at relative light and dark, and making adjustments, you know, lightening where I see it lighter. And this is a process that could go into infinity, you know, which I don't expect you to do today. But I would like, you know, a pretty good attempt at, you know, getting the values, looking at the values. And you will find that when we do the glazing, of course, this is one fairly intense way to do paintings, you know, with transparent glazes. But even if you end up painting as I do most of the time, which is just wet and wet, you will find that this exercise opens your eyes to value.